Hello and welcome to the Telegraph Studios. I'm Alistair Greener and today we're discussing the new regulations concerning pensions. And joining me to give his expert opinion is Jonathan Watts-Ley from Wealth at Work. Good afternoon.
Hi.
So first of all, there have been a lot of headlines in the press recently about this subject. So what are some of the headlines that have been grabbing your attention?
Well, I think really what the pension changes have done is allow people to all of a sudden realise that they can get hold of their own money as long as they're 55 or over. Some of the headlines that we've seen have been things such as going by a Lamborghini, which actually was a quote from the pension minister, Steve Webb himself. We've also seen quotes around using your pension as a bank account, so implying that you can easily take money out as and when you want. So I think it has created quite a lot of excitement, and people are thinking actually they can now get hold of their pension money, which perhaps they didn't believe they could have in the past.
So there's an awful lot in that. So what are the key questions that employees and decision makers should be asking?
Well, I think there's three fundamental questions that employees have. The first one is, okay, so there's new pensions flexibility. What options does that give me? The second question is how do I actually know what's right for me as an individual? And the third one is, if I worked out what is right for me, how do I actually implement my chosen option, my chosen plan? So if we take those in turn, in terms of the options, first of all, we really need to think about, is this someone who is looking to actually retire, which you would normally expect to use your pension for, or is this someone who's actually staying in work but just wants to take some money out of their pension? So let's take the latter. If they are staying in work and they want to take money out, they really need to think about why they're taking that money, because even though 25% of it will be tax-free, the remainder of it will be taxed. So they could end up becoming a high rate taxpayer if they're currently a basic rate taxpayer. Also, they need to think about the fact that that money is really there for retirement, so they need some good reasons to take it out. If it's for someone who is actually retiring, then they really need to think about what are the options in terms of drawing that income in retirement. Traditionally, most people only really had a choice of an annuity, which is effectively an insurance contract. But going forward, they could, and this is where the notion of the bank account has come from, they could actually draw down money as and when they want. The second question is, well, okay, what is right for me? Individuals really need to think about not only the pension that they may be paying into now, but also pensions perhaps they've built up over their working lives. They need to think about other savings they may have, such as ISAs, and they may also want to consider savings of their partner as well, because actually together they may want to actually view how they're going to generate income in retirement. And then thirdly, it's really important to get expert help on implementation, because actually what these options mean is that there's just a lot more choice. Therefore, you need to make sure that you implement it correctly.
So as you say, so many choices, so much to think about. It really is a very, very complex environment to be in. So let's do a bit of a thought experiment. Let's say, for example, that I'm an employer and I'm coming to you for your support and looking for your help. Talk me through the process. What's actually going to happen?
Well, if we go back to those three questions again, so what are the options that are available, and what, if you like, are the advantages and the disadvantages of those options? They really need explaining. Now, the government has taken some steps towards that, because they're also going to launch next April something called the Guidance Guarantee, which will allow people to get some help, some guidance, either face-to-face or over the phone. But a lot of companies are saying, well, that's fine, but actually we want to do something much more tailored, something that's much more based around the pension benefits that we provide as an employer. So a lot of them are going down the road of using organisations like us to provide financial education, which can be delivered in the classroom via seminars, on the internet, using internet tools or live webinars. But leading on to that, once people understand what those options are, and they understand the things like the tax implications, they may still then need to go and get one-on-one advice to really work through what's right for them and really work through the financial implications. So financial advice, I believe, is going to become so much more important, and I believe employers are beginning to recognise that now. And then lastly, it's really a case of how their plan can be implemented. And a lot of occupational pension schemes, a lot of personal pension schemes will not be necessarily in a position to implement these changes. So it's important that individuals do have access to organisations and experts that can implement it for them.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? Because you talk about individuals, but this is in danger of just becoming a one-size-fits-all, isn't it?
And I think that's the problem. I think the thing that has to be remembered is that if you go into an organisation, particularly large organisations that might have thousands of employees, those employees, even the ones that are 55 and over, will have a multitude of different savings, and it's important that any education is very much tailored to those different groups of people. So, for example, some may still be in what's termed a final salary scheme, others may be in a defined contribution scheme, others may have had both in the past, and that will all influence the sort of information and education that they need.
Now, this has been actually a major interruption, hasn't it? A huge amount for us to think about. But what's around the corner? Are we expecting any more announcements? Is there anything new for us to think about?
Well, I think there may be more changes. There's a lot of speculation out there that tax rates are going to be looked at in terms of contribution, the tax relief on contributions. So that may be one to watch for. I think the other big change will be actually the regulated advice piece. So actually, a lot of people had moved historically away from regulated advice, but actually, I can see that coming back into vogue again because people will want consumer protection, and they will get that with regulated advice, particularly because these options now, much broader options, one could argue much better options, but people really need to understand what they're doing.
Well, you've given us a huge amount of food for thought. Jonathan Watts-Ley, thank you very much.
Thank you.